I thought to read together, everybody, if you can see the screen later, these verses from the nuns. I took the verses from this sutra that Bhikkhu Bodhi translated, and it's called The Discourses of the Ancient Nuns, Bhikkhuni Samyukta. And this is book 5. So there are 10 sutras in there, very short sutras. The setting is these bhikshunis, individually, they were going out looking for a place to sit, practice their concentration. And then along comes Mara. And Mara is trying to distract them, trying to provoke them, trying to basically lure them away from the spiritual path with many, many different ways. And how these verses resonated for me was when these kind of challenges come up, these kind of taunts, these kind of things that, people say to me, instead of reacting, if I could say these verses to them, I think that would be really awesome. I'm hoping this live, but if not, maybe next live, and to create the causes for us collectively by saying these verses of the ancient nuns. So what Mara, first, who is Mara? So this week we are doing the meditation on the Buddha, and inside this description of the Buddha, in the Buddha's right palm, his right palm rests on his right knee, and in his left palm, he is on his lap and is holding a bowl of nectar. And the footnote at the back of the Blue Book, number 4, says, the blissful wisdom nectar cures the 4 maras. So first maras, so the different texts will have different arrangements of the maras, but they're basically similar. First one is the afflictions. The second one are polluted aggregates of body and mind. The third is uncontrolled death. And the fourth one is worldly gods who interfere with our practices. So of the 4, only one is a person, a being. The rest is, our mind is part of our mind, part of our, aggregates. So if people think, so that I've seen questions that were asked, of masters, like, because Mara is sometimes translated as demons, or ghosts, am I being disturbed by these ghosts and these demons? And there are such beings. And one of the replied, actually I think two different masters said similar things of like, the actual Mara, the being, only disturbs high-level practitioners. So if you are a high-level practitioner and the Mara knows that, it's like the Buddha almost going to become a Buddha, Mara comes. Yeah, so that was his skillful response. So in this case, what Mara didn't know that all these 10 bhikshunis were all arhants. So they have all become arhants, cleared their mind of all the afflictive obscurations, and they are not going to be disturbed by whatever Mara says. Okay, so we're going to read this, and I've asked, so the online audience who cannot hear, I've asked Menro Ngawang to read the verses of Mara, but he is really not Mara, so don't mistake the two. He's just play acting and humoring me. Okay, so the first one, if you could put up the slides for. So this first one is Arhan Bhikkhuni Alavika, and she is the daughter of King Alavaka. So she's a princess, and she had heard the Buddha teach and become a lay practitioner, and then subsequently become a monastic. And what Mara is going to be asking of her is to, enjoy the sense pleasure. Remember, you are a princess. You have all these things and wonderful things, So wanting to disrupt her concentration, wanting her to not pursue the spiritual path.
There is no escape in the world. So what will you do with seclusion? Enjoy the delights of sensual pleasure. Don't be remorseful later.
So when the bhikkhuni hears Mara, first she will determine like, oh, who is this? Is it a person? Is it, is it my mind? Is it like, so she does that discernment first. It's not, through her clairvoyance and all that, she will know these things. And then she very definitively knows it's Mara coming to disturb her. So she responds, there is no escape in the world. Read together.
No escape in the world,
which I have closely touched with wisdom. O evil one, kinsman of the neglected, you do not know that state. Sensual pleasures are like sword stakes. The aggregates their chopping block. What you call sensual delight has become for me non-delight. So Mara, when he hears this, is filled with shame and like, oh no, this bhikshunis know who I am, and I can't trick her. So he leaves very disappointed. Okay? And this bhikshuni was talking about, in the commentary of Bhikkhu Bodhi, was like, she's describing nirvana, the state of nirvana that she has already attained. So now bhikkhuni number 2, Arham Bhikkhuni Soma. So she is the daughter of King Bimbisara's chaplain. And she is going to respond to Mara's taunts that women are of little intelligence, and the description of this two-fingered wisdom. There are many different ways that people were guessing the meaning. One of it is that women stays in the kitchen and cooks rice, and once the rice is done, they put it between the two fingers to see if it's cooked, and that is the extent of their wisdom. So Mara's really, hitting it where it hurts, So this bhikkhuni, with her incredible courage and intelligence and just fearless, so she's going to tell him that gender is not the capacity of the mind. You cannot determine people's ability for enlightenment, for generating concentration and wisdom through gender. And everybody has the same potential to become a Buddha, to be fully enlightened, and as long as we continue our practice. So Maras comes and again says,
that state so hard to achieve, which is to be attained by the seers, can't be attained by a woman with her two-fingered wisdom.
And Arham Bhikkhuni responds, what does womanhood matter at all? When the mind is concentrated well, when knowledge flows on steadily as one sees correctly into Dhamma, one to whom it might occur, I'm a woman, or I'm a man, or I'm anything at all, is fit for Mara to address. And now the third bhikkhuni, Arhan Bhikkhuni Kisa Gotami. This is the heroine from the parable of the mustard seed. So her baby son had died, and she was trying to find a way to revive him and get back the son. She was going mad with grief. And what Mara's trying to do is arouse her motherly instinct. And us, trying to get her, like, don't you want another son? Your son's dead. So he's appealing to that feminine, natural instinct to, have children, to take care of them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But his main purpose using this technique is to distract her from her spiritual path. But of course, she's already an arhat, and he didn't know that. So he says,
why now, when your son is dead, do you sit alone with a tearful face? Having entered the woods all alone, are you on the lookout for a man?
And the bhikkhuni responds, I've gotten past the death of sons. With this, the search for man has ended. I do not sorrow, I do not weep, nor do I fear you, friend. The light everywhere has been destroyed. The mass of darkness has been sundered. Having conquered the army of death, I dwell without defiling taints. Okay. And then the fourth bhikkhuni, Arhan Bhikkhuni Vijaya. So this bhikkhuni in her lay life was a friend of Khema, the chief consort of King Bimbisara. And when she heard that Khema had gone forth under the Buddha, she visited her and was so inspired in their conversation that she also decided to become a nun, and with Khema as her preceptor. And here, Mara's disguised as a young, handsome youth and trying to seduce her with his charms.
You are so young and beautiful, and I too am in the bloom of youth. Come, noble lady, let us rejoice with the music of a fivefold ensemble.
And the bhikkhuni responds, forms and sounds, tastes and odors, tactile objects that delight the mind, I offer them right back to you, for I, O Mara, do not need them. I am repelled and humiliated by this foul, putrid body, subject to break up, fragile. I've uprooted sensual craving. As to those beings who fare amidst form, and those who abide in the formless, and those peaceful attainments too, everywhere darkness has been destroyed. And so here this bhikkhuni is talking about all of samsara, including the form and formless. And even when you get high-level concentrations, that's not liberation. So very clearly, I think, like when I read these verses, I'm like, there's no difference. I mean, they look like the Mahayana texts that I'm familiar with. And next, Arhan Bhikkhuni Upalavanda. And so this is a bhikkhuni that's foremost in the exercise of supernormal powers. And you will see that in her verses. And this is also a bhikkhuni because Mara here is threatening to rape this bhikkhuni. And this bhikkhuni, very early in her ordination, was raped by a youth who was infatuated by her. So he knows where to strike when she's weak.
Having gone to the sala tree with flowering top, you stand at its foot all alone, bhikkhuni. There is none whose beauty can rival your own. Foolish girl, have you no fear of rogues?
And the bhikkhuni responds, through 100,000 rogues, just like you might come here. I stir not a hair. I feel no terror. Even alone, Mara, I don't fear you. I can make myself disappear, or I can enter inside your belly. I can stand between your eyebrows, yet you won't catch a glimpse of me. I am the master of my own mind. The bases of power are well developed. I am freed from every kind of bondage. Therefore, I don't fear you, friend. And you see this constantly. She refers to Mara as a friend. So there's no animosity, and she's just calmly, telling him what it is. So the next Arhan Bhikkhuni is Arhan Bhikkhuni Kala. So the next three bhikkhunis are all younger sisters of the Venerable Shariputra. So Venerable Shariputra's family, 5 of them became Arhans. Like, I thought, that's pretty cool. So here, Mara is trying to distract them from their practice and getting at it at talking about birth, talking about, the not, I think he understands that these bhikkhunis are not going to respond to the other taunts. So these are more intellectual kind of taunts. And I think, in my opinion, testing the bhikkhunis' attainments.
What don't you approve of, bhikkhuni?
And the bhikkhuni responds, I don't approve of birth, friend.
Why don't you approve of birth? Once born, you enjoy sensual pleasures. Who now has persuaded you of this? Bhikkhuni, don't approve of birth?
For one who is born, there is death. Once born, one encounters sufferings, bondage, murder, affliction. Hence, one shouldn't approve of birth. The Buddha has taught the Dhamma, the transcendence of birth. For the abandoning of all suffering, he has settled me in the truth. As to those beings who are fair amidst form, and those who abide in the formless, not having understood cessation, they come again to re-becoming. So you can hear the 12 links in this already. So bhikkhuni number 7, Arhan Bhikkhuni Upakala, again the younger sister of Venerable Shariputra. And Mara says,
where do you wish to be reborn, bhikkhuni?
I do not wish to be reborn anywhere, friend.
There are Tavatamsa and Yamadevas and Devatas of the Tushita realm, Devas who take delight in creating, and Devas who exercise control. Direct your mind there, and you'll experience delight.
There are Tavatimsa and Yamadevas and Devatas of the Tushita realm, Devas who take delight in creating, and Devas who exercise control. They are still bound by sensual bondage. They come again under Mara's control. All the world is on fire. All the world is burning. All the world is ablaze. All the world is quaking. That which does not quake or blaze, that to which worldlings do not resort, where there is no place for Mara, that is where my mind delights. And now this Arhan Bhikkhuni Sisupakala is talking about the dangers of non-Buddhist thinkers.
Whose creed do you approve of, bhikkhuni?
I don't approve of anyone's creed, friend.
Under whom have you shaved your head? You do appear to be a recluse. Yet you don't approve of any creed. So why wander as if bewildered?
Outside here, the followers of creeds place their confidence in views. I don't approve of their teachings. They are not skilled in the Dharma. But there is a scion of the Shakyan clan, the enlightened one without an equal, conqueror of all, Mara's subduer, who everywhere is undefeated, everywhere freed and unattached, the one with vision who sees all, who attained the end of all karma, release in the extinction of acquisitions. That blessed one is my teacher. His is the teaching I approve. So next is Arhan Bhikkhuni Sela, and this is a question about origins of personal existence. So number 9 and 10 is now going into emptiness. You will recognize Bhikkhuni number 10. And Mara says,
by whom has this puppet been created? Where is the maker of the puppet? Where has the puppet arisen? Where does the puppet cease?
This
This
puppet is not made by itself, nor is this misery made by another. It has come to be dependent on a cause. When the cause dissolves, then it will cease. As when a seed is sown in a field, it grows depending on a pair of factors. It requires both the soil's nutrients and a steady supply of moisture. Just so the aggregates and elements and these 6 bases of sensory contact have come to be dependent on a cause. When the cause dissolves, they will cease. And finally, Arhan Bhikkhuni Vajira. And in the Red Book, we have 2 of the verses, but here there's 3 of verses that look slightly different, and also Mara's questions.
By whom has this being been created? Where is the maker of the being? Where has the being arisen? Where does the being cease?
Why now do you assume a being? Mara, have you grasped a view? This is a heap of sheer constructions. Here no being is found. Just as with an assemblage of parts, the word chariot is used. So when the aggregates are present, there's the convention a being. It's only suffering that comes to be, suffering that stands and falls away. Nothing but suffering comes to be, nothing but suffering ceases.